Welcome to Soccer in 60, presented by the Empire Strykers. Get ready for your weekly look at all the pro soccer teams in Greater Los Angeles. We've got all the news and analysis you need, from LAFC and the LA Galaxy to the Empire Strykers, Angel City FC, and Orange County Soccer Club. Now, buckle up and enjoy Soccer in 60. Hey, happy Thursday, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Soccer in 60, brought to you by SAC Health System. We are your local footy fix the day before the weekend, and happy hour is in full effect. Cheers. So let's take the edge off, just not while we're driving, and let's fall into footy together, my friends. My name's Christian Philemon, better known as Philly, and I am joined by my colleague, sitting in his palatial palace in Placentia, my pal, alliterations, Tim Kolotz. Tim, I know you had a nice little beverage at lunch. I'm pretty sure you're doing all right, huh?
I am doing fantastic, Philly, my friend. It's a beautiful day here in SoCal. I'm stoked to be hanging out with you and my entire Soccer in 60 fam, man, on this beautiful Thursday afternoon, baby. I got 100%. You, I got Christian behind the board. You know, we're hanging out. Oh, there's even a gunner somewhere around here.
There is, and not the kind that plays in the Premier League, the kind that's a creative director, who you'll see later on today. We got so much to talk about today. LAFC and the Galaxy had 2 games apiece that we'll recap. They both played each other over the weekend, the greatest rivalry in Major League Soccer right now. Tons to talk about there. So because of that, we brought in reinforcements. And by reinforcements, we mean the number 7 all-time leading scorer in the history of Major League Soccer. Bradley Wright-Phillips joins us on the show. We talk an awful lot about LAFC and the Galaxy and the rivalry there. We also talk about Angel City, their match against Utah, and of course, we will address what happened with Savvy King. Orange County Chatter, what the hell's Channer, is in the mix, as well as some more postpartum. Clearly, happy hour is kicking my butt right now, but so much to talk about. Let's slide tackle our way through this. Tim, you have the mic, because apparently I've got diarrhea of the mouth.
Not a problem, Philly, my man. Hey, you know, the Galaxy are certainly in a different world than last year, and I got a couple of numbers for you, Philly. 0, -21, and 13. 0 wins on the season, -21 goal differential, and 13 years since the Union last beat the Galaxy. 4th of July, 2012, my friend. We could go on forever about this, and we could talk about Choupo-Moting getting a brace, but I want to talk about a couple of other things about this game. The Galaxy had 17 total shots, and 6 of them were on frame. Badestin was basically even, but the energy drinks had 11 total shots. So the Galaxy outshot them. It just so happened that the energy drinks, every one they shot, basically went in at as a touchdown went up on the board. But what I really liked about this towards the end of the game is that Maya Yoshida has got the captain's armband on, and he went after Emil Forsberg on this in the 74th minute. He had just had enough. The energy drinks were playing a little bit of keep away, and Yoshida just went over and put the guy on the deck. And that, my friends, is the energy and the fight that the Galaxy have not yet really shown this season, Philly.
It's awful, and we're going to recap and unwind and unwrap this one a lot more in the interview with Bradley Wright-Phillips. But yes, an atrocious game, Tim. I mean, they were ripped apart by, you mentioned his name, Eric Choupo-Moting, goal in the 7th and the 31st minute. Emil Forsberg. Might I add, these are 2 players who previously competed in the Bundesliga, the highest level of professional soccer in Germany. Choupo-Moting with Bayern, and Emil Forsberg, obviously, with the other energy drink out of Germany, RB Leipzig. Worst loss in club history. And prior to that, their worst losses were 5-0 results, which occurred on 3 occasions. Back on August the 18th of 2018, Seattle beat them by a score of 5-0. Back on June the 2nd, 2013, the Rev beat them 5-0. And then going back to June the 15th of 2002, the New York, New Jersey Metro Stars. You remember them? They became the Red Bull. They also won. So that's the story with the Galaxy and the Red Bull. We'll talk more about that. But how about the game against the Union? That was not very pretty either.
Holy smokes. You know, that fire that they had showed at the end of the New York game carried over against Philly. They come out in a 5-4-1 structure, much more defensive. You almost think they're giving up, but that 5-4-1 structure against Philly worked out immediately, Philly. Haha. And what they did is Royce played the best half he's played since he showed up at the Galaxy. They go up 2-0 at halftime. They're looking good. Philly comes out, and within 5 minutes, they look like the Galaxy of last year and lit them on fire. It was 2-2 in the 51st minute. And from there, the Galaxies, their legs ran out, and they give up a goal late, a couple of beauties in this game. And the final nail in the casket was late in extra time, and they end up losing this game 3-2, Philly. And this is a game they coulda, woulda, shoulda won.
Brutality by Baribo, who now at this point with the 2 goals that he scored against the Galaxy puts him to 10 on Major League Soccer's season. He's now the Golden Boot leader. The most important thing to note, and we're going to slide into LAFC real quick because we're so capped on time. Again, all of this will be disseminated when we talk to Bradley Wright-Phillips. But the thing that strikes out the most is 22 shots for the Union, 9 on target, 3 for the Galaxy with 2 on target. The offense stagnant and anemic. All right, let's go to the LAFC real quick as they played a couple of games, heading up to the Pacific Northwest to take on the Vancouver Whitecaps for the 12th time in 2 seasons, albeit the first time this season. It was a fun, entertaining game, a game in which LAFC did go up by 2 goals early on. You have to start off with the throw-in by Sergi Palencia to get things going for the black and gold. I mean, man, he could be an NFL quarterback with the way he launched his throw-in in the box. After it bounces off of Veselinovic, former Galaxy midfielder Marky Delgado opens up the scoring. So there we have it, the first goal of the game, 8 minutes in. Then we go to the 17th minute. Denny the Destroyer distributes to Hollingshead, gets taken out by Ocampo, no question. Denny in the box, 12 yards to glory, boom, he has it. But where LAFC has had trouble this season is off of set pieces. Somewhere in Saskatchewan, Sebastian Berhalter connects with Brian White on a beautiful cross into the box. And Brian White, one of the most talented strikers in Major League Soccer, gets the first goal of the game. He would end up creating the brace right around the 70th minute. And LAFC set piece defending not solid. They came close a couple of times. By they, I mean LAFC. Very close, 90th minute. Opportunity in the box, not to be had. But LAFC drops points on the road, but to a very talented Vancouver team that's going to be representing Major League Soccer in the CONCACAF Champions Cup in June against Cruz Azul. Now let's talk really quickly about the game that just occurred against the Seattle Sounders, and more about both of these games in that interview with Bradley Wright-Phillips. 24 times we played these guys, and this was the worst defeat that Seattle has sustained against LAFC, period. Tim, you were at the game. What are your thoughts on what happened? Let's talk about a couple of the goal scorers, too, while we're at it.
Yeah, this game was brilliant. You know, it was a beauty of a night in LA, and I got to hang out with you. And for the Galaxy fans, because I am representing, I was in a little bit of enemy territory, but this was really fantastic game. I really liked the way that LAFC played the entire game throughout this match. They dominated play. Seattle was short a couple of guys. Jordan Morris didn't play, but that doesn't matter. You come in and LA just really put it to them. A lot of spot passes, a lot of give and goes, and a lot of what really impressed me about the team last night is that Denny the Destroyer came in big on a couple of these and had a great goal that he off of a really nice piece, and he gets the volley and puts it up, and it makes it 3-0 at that point. Yeah. Really, just top to bottom impressiveness. And even David Martinez came in at just 19 in a couple of weeks. He had a great rainbow goal that got called back from an offside call. This could easily have been 5-6-0, Philly.
Yeah, shout out to Cengiz Under. He got himself a goal. Jeremy Abobasi a goal. And Yaya Boa, his first goal as a member of LAFC, 4-0. First loss since April 5th for the Sounders. Third time LAFC has put 4 past Seattle. Really, they put 5 because David Martinez had that, whatever. But biggest win of the season, most goals they've scored all year for LAFC. 3 was their biggest output. Now, we're speeding through this because those reinforcements are ready to go. Let's head to our interview with Bradley Wright-Phillips. Is an analyst with Apple TV's MLS season pass and a true MLS legend. After playing extensively in his native England in 2013, he embarked on a remarkable career with the New York Red Bulls that would see him score 108 goals in 200 games and earn 3 supporter shields, 2 golden boots, 2 MLS Best 11 honors, 1 CONCACAF Best 11 honor, and 2 MLS All-Star nominations in the process. In 2020, he became the MLS Comeback Player of the Year after scoring 8 times in 19 games for LAFC. He finally exited on a high note in 2021, winning the Campeones Cup with the Columbus Crew. It is such an honor to have with us the one, the only, Bradley Wright-Phillips. Bradley, welcome to Soccer in 60.
Thank you for having me, guys. Billy, that's a great welcome, man. You made me sound like a half-decent player. I like you, man. I'm going to come on here every week.
Well, you're always more than welcome to come hang out with us, BWP. We certainly appreciate your time. Let's get right into things, and let's start with LAFC. We're speaking on Wednesday, the morning of the LAFC versus Seattle match. So obviously, we can't offer any analysis on that game yet. But I'd like to briefly look back at the clash with Vancouver. You could argue that tying after a 2-0 lead would kind of feel like a loss. At the same time, an away draw against the conference leader and Champions Cup finalists would normally count as a good result. But how do you rate the performance by LAFC and the 1.1 up in Canada?
Listen, any season, apart from this season, it's going to look like 2 points dropped. But I think Vancouver are a fabulous team, playing some really good football. And the LAFC, come on, they should be winning that after going 2-0 up, but you don't. And I like to look at it in the week. So now they've played Vancouver, they get a point. They play another tough team that Seattle, watch out for them. They're going to be climbing this table also. They're going to play them today. And then they have the derby on Sunday, right? Saturday.
Correct.
Sunday or Saturday. If you think about getting 5 points maybe through this week, that's a great week for Steve Cherundolo. And I think maybe that's how he's maybe looking at this week. Yes, it seems like 2 points drop, but with 3 difficult games, you come out with 5, you're looking good.
Yeah, you couldn't be right. A lot of people, I didn't even take that into consideration. Whitecaps, fantastic team. Sounders, great run of form, 4-1. Actually, undefeated in their last 5. And obviously, well, the Galaxy, we'll talk about that momentarily. No. Now, it's been a bit of an up and down season for LAFC, and the games since early April really reflect that. Like with the Champions Cup exit and then going unbeaten in 5, but also winning twice. Now, 2 of the most recent draws have come at Portland and at Vancouver, but one came home against St. Louis. Like, what do you make of LAFC in 2025? And would it be fair to say this week's games at Seattle and Carson could set the tone for the rest of the season?
You would hope so. Rivalry matches tend to do that. They can, give you a kickstart. Not saying that LAFC need a kickstart. I'll be honest. I'm disappointed, not with how they're doing in the league with the table numbers wise, but when I see them, visually on the eye. I have a little bit of bias to LAFC because I played there and I think it's an amazing club. The ambitions are like through the roof. Walking into them walls, you have to win. They want some silverware. So when I look at it aesthetically, I'm saying this doesn't look beautiful. This isn't the team I saw come into the league and take it by storm. But they do get the job done. They're tough to play against. And I think the last 2 games, they've shown a bit more on the ball. They've looked more dangerous. And also what goes in correlation is Denny Bouanga's back looking dangerous. The team's looking a bit better. And it might sound simple, but to me, they're on the upward trajectory.
Mm-hmm. Now, Bradley, what role in all of this do you feel that Cherundolo's departure at the end of the season plays for LAFC? You being a former player, do you feel that psychologically it can make a difference knowing that the guy who's coaching you today won't be there at the end of the year? As a player, do you perhaps question if the coach is still 100% committed, or if you like the coach and respect the coach, does it maybe give you that extra boost of motivation to do well and send him out on a high note?
I think it's the second one there. That if you're speaking from what I would be like is send this man out on a high note. We've won together. I'm assuming he's been amazing with the players. I've met Steve a couple of times. He's a great human being. So if I was in that locker room, I'm running through brick walls. I want to send him away on a high, maybe win something. And also looking at them, since Steve has announced it, they seem to be more relaxed. I don't know if that's leaving the Champions League or whatever that is, but they seem to be more relaxed. They're playing a nicer style of football, and they're getting better results. There's a bit more consistency in the gameplay. So, but yeah, to answer your question, it's got to be everything. Just leave everything, nothing to chance. Let's go for it, see what we can win, and say our goodbyes.
Yep. Now, speaking of Cherundolo, everyone that we've talked to about him on the show say that 10 times fast. Praised his tended to praise his tenure at LAFC. That said, there's still a very vocal portion of the fan base that continues to question his job performance, with some even cheering his decision to leave the club at the end of 2025. Now, at roughly twice as many wins as losses and having won an MLS Cup, a US Open Cup, the Champions League, how do you rate Cherundolo as LAFC coach so far? The chapter hasn't ended, obviously. And why do you think that criticism persists?
Well, first of all, how I rate him is very highly. If I think about coaches who I want to be my manager, who I want to lead the ship, I want someone that competes every year. Cherundolo's done that. He's been to, I can't remember off head, but how many, four or five finals? I could be wrong, 4 or 5 finals. He's won 2 or 3 of those. 3?
Open Cup?
Yeah. Yep.
Open Cup.
MLS Cup.
MLS Cup. So,
and Champions League.
And Champions, exactly. 3 trophies.
Yep.
For me, you're successful. He's come in and done a job. Now I sympathize with the fans. I'm an Arsenal fan. So, we've been amazing over the last few years, but now we get ungrateful. We want to see a bit more. I think LAFC fans may be a bit, guilty of that because they're the same like me. I'm a little bit of an LAFC fan and I want to see nice football. It's what I said earlier. They want to see that beautiful style of play, fast, frantic, quality. Carlos Vela banging in goals from the edge of the, right-hand side. This is what they're used to. This is what they've come in and seen from day one. So I understand where he gets criticism there, but just take yourself back a little bit. Think about what you've won, the games you've witnessed, how many finals you've been in, and then you really look back and say, Steve Cherundolo will go down as a legend at this club.
Champagne problems and caviar dreams is exactly what we've got here in LA. That's our problem. We expect too much. Now, Bradley, let's take a look at more things on the player perspective, more on the micro level. Now, you're a certified legendary forward, so no one better to ask this question to. The situation up top for LAFC is what we're going to get into. Now, despite Giroud struggling, the club still has very many key attackers to start together in any given game, with Bouanga, Jeremy Abobasi, Cengiz Under, David Martinez, Nathan Ordaz, all staking claims. Now, first of all, do you see any chance Giroud could still enter the conversation, or will his time with the club end up as a failure? And what do you view as the best attacking lineup for LAFC at this point?
Right. It's a tough one with Giroud because he's a player I highly rated. And I thought, him joining LAFC with what they're trying to do, playing up to him, Bouanga running off of him, it just sounded beautiful to me. It hasn't quite worked out. And the most disappointing thing, I think, is Giroud's link-up play. Over the years, I've never looked at Giroud as an out-and-out goal scorer. I don't expect him to get 30 goals every season. But I expect the ball to go up to Giroud. He can lay it off to players. He can bring players into the game. He'll get assists, and he scores amazing goals. We haven't seen that. I don't think this ends great. I don't think this is how Giroud would have wanted to end his career, but it seems like he just can't get going at the moment. Now, he's been a world-class player, so maybe he can sort that out in the next few games. That's on him. I think the front three I would like to see, and it's tough because I'd struggle with the number 9. First of all, Jeremy Abobase and Nathan Ordaz, I would have them fighting. Whoever's training better, playing better, getting the goals on a weekend, they start as that middle number 9, and then it's got to be Bouanga and Martinez for me. That on the right day just seems very dangerous.
Couldn't agree more. And yeah, the Giroud story is wild, considering the fact that he came off of a top 10 performance in goals and assists in Serie A with Milan. It's wild. Let's move on over to the Galaxy, and let's keep the first question fairly simple. The club lost key players during the offseason and has dealt with significant injury issues. But for a defending MLS Cup champion to crash and go 0-9-3 in MLS play is still quite remarkable. Like, what do you think is happening, Carson, between the end of last season and this past weekend's rock bottom loss against your former club, the New York Red Bull? Like, do you have an explanation for how things could get this bad?
I don't. I don't. And I've been at different, we spoke about the Galaxy for weeks now on the show. And every week it comes down to, well, it's Greg Vanney's fault. He's got to get merit of these players. So he should. He's the head coach. Whether it's his fault or not, that's your job. Then I'm talking about the players have got to do more. They don't look like there's any bite. There's no work rate. I don't know. I'm not behind those walls at training. I can guarantee you they're probably working hard. I'll put it down to a couple of things, I think. Yes, the loss of, Ricky Puig. It was only the other 2, Paintsel and Peck on the weekend, 2 weekends ago, maybe. So that's very new. But Ricky Puig, huge loss. We get it. But I put it down to maybe it's a hangover. Winning an MLS Cup, I've never won, but I know going deep into a season and having to, put all that emotion into a season, play games at a high level, it's not easy. And I'm wondering if they've struggled to match that again, match that intensity. Sometimes it's hard for coaches to get that out of players every day, not just every weekend, every day in training, keeping that intensity. They seem to have fallen off a cliff in terms of that. And then I just think they just didn't have a plan B. I'm not going to give them the excuse of injuries in the roster, because if at the beginning of the season you line up that LA Galaxy roster with even a Vancouver, you wouldn't say at the beginning of the season, you wouldn't say Vancouver has a better roster, but they have an identity, they have a playing style, they're tough to beat. So it always leaves me with a question: why can't LA Galaxy do this? So I couldn't say, what can they do? It's just very, eyebrow raising to me, because I've never seen anything like it.
Mm-hmm.
Something's wrong there.
You're not kidding. You're not kidding about the hangover part. If there's anything I know a lot about, it's that. And they're going to need to hydrate pretty soon, because their fans are starving for something, some form of life, perhaps even a pulse. Now, let's look specifically at that earthquake of a loss against the Red Bull. In fact, this was the worst loss in Galaxy history, unless ChatGPT just failed me. Now, the Galaxy lineup was obviously quite decimated, but 7-0, a touchdown, if we're talking American football, is still a devastating result in a league that is known for its parity. Like, what did you see in that game that could help us understand how the defending champions could get so absolutely humiliated and obliterated by the reigning runners-up?
It's funny, because when I saw the lineups, obviously with the injury they got, I was being optimistic. I was like, it might be one of those things where the stars are missing. They're playing, players that have been wanting a chance for ages, haven't got a chance, and they go out and we at least see work rate, we at least see fight. And I'll be honest with you, talking on 360, seeing the goals go in, I'm like, this is embarrassing. It gets worse and worse every week. Yesterday, I sat and watched the game, just until the first 3 goals Red Bull scored. And I could tell that Greg Vanney had got them fired up for this game. I could tell that they weren't happy with the last results, what's been happening. They started well. Red Bull couldn't get out of their half. They created 1 or 2 half chances. The problem I saw was when that first goal went in, there was still a bit of life. That second goal killed them. They struggle with adversity now. They've been punched in the face so many times, they don't know how to deal with that anymore. And that's what I saw from watching the game, as a whole, not just in little increments on 360. They're struggling. They have a bruised ego. Their confidence is low. And anytime there's a little bit of adversity, they don't deal with it. They go into a shell. Mm-hmm. And that's what I saw at the Red Bull game. Sorry.
Speaking more broadly, obviously we've talked about injuries have really plagued Greg Vanney and the Galaxy. Nonetheless, it seems fair to think or to say that he hasn't found effective solutions to urgent problems in recent weeks and months. Do you think it's at all possible that a 7-0 thumping could be indicative of some of the players? I don't want to say maybe losing trust. Maybe it's not an overt thing like that, but maybe subconsciously sort of losing confidence and in Vanney still being the right man to turn it around. Is that something that you think could come through in a game like this?
I don't know. I wouldn't say losing trust. It's kind of hard to say that when you're not there. We could be, we're just speculating, right? From what we're seeing, body language. I wouldn't say trust. I would just say, it just seems like they're just really hard to, motivate. They need almost a lucky win. I know that's easy to say, but a lucky win, and then they can believe they will start winning. But it's hard to put my finger on what it is. I wouldn't necessarily say they've lost trust. You've just won the MLS Cup. You don't lose trust, 12 games into the season, in my opinion. Yeah, so that's a hard one to answer, but I don't think it's trust.
Okay. Now we said it a few times, 0-9-3 in MLS play, and coming off that absolute low point now against the Red Bulls, are you surprised that Vanney is still the coach and hasn't been let go yet? I'm
not surprised. I think it would be very harsh, and I know we have to set ourselves high standards, and I've been just as harsh as anyone on the broadcast with Greg Vanney, because I rate him highly. I expect more of him. I say openly, I think he's got to do a way better job, obviously. But Greg Vanney, at the beginning of last season, was getting a lot of stick, talking about his job. And he ends up putting one of the best attacks together, and they go down the stretch and win the MLS Cup. Now, 12 games of, bad performances, I don't think should erase what he done last year. I really don't. Wholeheartedly, I don't think it should cost him his job. But I do think conversations need to be had, and he's the only one that can get them out of this, and he's got to change it around soon. But no, I don't think his job should be on the line this season.
Shifting away from the coach a little bit, let's look at a specific situation that's sort of been interesting. I play goalkeeper, so this has been kind of an interesting situation.
Why would you do that
to me? I ask myself I ask myself the same thing sometimes. So it's a fair question. But let's look specifically. The Galaxy obviously had John McCarthy, the established veteran, then opted to start a young goalkeeper in his place. Instead of getting rid of McCarthy in that situation, they instead decided to add JT Marcinkowski, another established MLS veteran. Now, at this point, you have three keepers who may all think they should be starting. McCarthy didn't look good against Red Bull. I think it's fair to say. What's your take on that situation? And do you feel it's indicative of an overall, slightly provocative question, but could it be indicative of an overall lack of roster building strategy heading into 2025?
Yeah, I'll make you right. If there's one position you can't tinker with, I think you have to go into even preseason knowing this is my number one, and this is the back line that's going to play in front of that number one, and you build from there. You can't be mixing and matching goalkeepers. I think McCarthy was supposed to leave right at the end of the season, maybe, or they were trying to. I don't know much, but I'm maybe hearing rumors that maybe he was supposed to go. But I think if he wasn't, or no, sorry, maybe he's going to lose his spot, and they're going to bring in the other guy. I think if you're going to do that, McCarthy would have to leave, so you can give that number. The number one has his spot without worrying that McCarthy's behind him. The two-time MLS Cup winner. You don't need that as a goalkeeper trying to be the number one. So I think that's the goalkeeper situation could have been handled better. Also, once you pick one at the beginning of the season, it's not a striker. You can't say, okay, you one game, you go in one game. Goalkeepers need a rhythm. They need a rhythm. They need to get used to the back line. They need to get used to starting games, and that hasn't been dealt with in the right way at all.
But to be clear, you don't find it to be indicative of an overall lack of planning and strategy in roster building. It's specific to the goalkeeper situation.
It's hard. That's what it seems like from the outside. But I'll be honest with you, I'm not one of those people that really know the ins and outs of roster building and what the ins and outs of it. So I wouldn't say that. I just know that at the beginning of the season, it should have been established as early as preseason starts, first game.
Yep.
It's rivalry week, so let's take a look ahead at Sunday's El Tráfico clash, the best rivalry in MLS, in my opinion. Over Cascadian, perhaps the Hudson River Derby, although our guest might have a different thought on that. Now, regardless of what happens in the midweek games, the bulk of the pressure's no doubt on Greg Vanney, provided he still has the job by then. But what would you say a successful game and final score would look like for either team? Do you feel that either one should be looking at it as a must-win?
Yeah, you have to. Both teams have to look at it as a must-win. It's a derby game. It's one of those games that's not for the 3 points. Although at the end of the win, you get it. It's about the fans. It's about bragging rights, until the next game. So yeah, both teams should go in wanting to win. It's a tricky one because derbies they just throw up the craziest stories, and LA Galaxy have not been good. But wouldn't it just be football for them to just beat LAFC on the weekend? And no one can make any sense of it. So it's hard to say, but I see it. If I got to be just thinking just an analyst, it's an LAFC win. They're playing the better football. They're defending better. I do know El Tráfico is always going to bring some drama. So I don't expect it to be 7-0. That's the problem. You're playing them after LAFC are playing them after 2 tough games. New York Red Bull. Now they got Philly. It's going to change at some stage. The form is going to change. Something's going to happen at some stage, and LAFC will be hoping it's not when they play them on the weekend.
No, but you're right. It so would be football. In the history of this rivalry, it wouldn't be a surprise, but let's just hope that the laws of attraction have been muted and the football gods haven't exactly heard us talk about this. Now, one more question for you before we let you go, Bradley. The injury situation went from bad to worse for the Galaxy against the Red Bulls. With the killer piece, Paintsel, Peck, and Pooch sidelined, when we air tomorrow, we will know whom the Galaxy start at Philadelphia, but provided absences and knocks will likely play a key role in the derby. What kind of match are you expecting? Tactically, but also in terms of mentality from both teams. And what do you see as the keys to success on Sunday?
It won't happen, but I expect the Galaxy I would like to see them understand that they are the worst team in this fixture this season. You know, they are the underdog, and I'd like to see them going understanding that, because you can gain strength off of that if they were compact. You know, played a little bit more in transition, closed up the midfield gaps, the gaps between the centre backs and the midfielders, make it difficult to to beat them. I'd like to see them come out like that. On the other side, I'd want to see the LAFC high and wide, getting Denny Bwanga on the ball, getting the wide players on the ball, serving crosses in the box. I'm very confident in the back line. They shouldn't be too threatened with what the Galaxy have up front. But if I'm the Galaxy, I'm trying to make this as boring as possible. I'm concentrating on the details, set pieces, just to make it really hard, because this is one game. It's one thing losing to Red Bull. You cannot get battered against your fiercest rival.
Couldn't agree more. I might have lied and said I had one more. That was the last one. But 65 minutes in the Open Cup with the Des Moines Menace. How the legs feeling? And does that give you the motivation to possibly play in TST?
The 65 minutes is the game before. You're giving me too much credit. I played 8 minutes the game after, and I pulled my soleus. I still don't feel good. I'm still struggling. Football's off the cards for me. I'm too old for it. I don't do enough work to be playing games. But it was fun playing for the Des Moines Menace. Just playing with the boys, one last time, traveling again. It was cool.
Absolutely. Now, look, I'm humbled by the fact that you came out and joined us. I sincerely appreciate your time on behalf of myself and, of course, our creative director, Gunnar, and everybody here at Si60. Thank you so much, Bradley Wright-Phillips, and keep on kicking butt with the MLS folk. A legend on the field, going to be a legend in the booth and broadcasting and as a football pundit. So good work, my friend.
Thanks for having me, guys. You two are class. It was fun talking.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Well, Philly's not quite with us back yet because he's got his name. He's got himself on mute.
Gosh
but
darn it! Shout out to Bradley Wright-Phillips for joining us. Yes, El Trafico on Sunday, May 18th at 6 p.m. live from Dignity Health Sports Park. Oh, I hate it when that happens. And
that's what family does, Philly. We got to call you out when you screw up every now and then, buddy.
Yeah, look, I'll be the first to tell you I'm not perfect. And yeah, the strange fellow that was on the upper left of your screen making his second appearance on Soccer in 60 is the man responsible for putting the show together and for keeping us in check while dodging bullets that we fire at him from time to time. That's the creative director, Gunnar Burnt, the head of communications for the Empire Strykers. And what a coincidence. That's what we're going to talk about next. But first, we have a read. Omnitrans. Experience the thrill of a game day with Omnitrans in partnership with the Strykers. Be in the heart of the action at Toyota Arena and let us take care of the ride. Heading to the game, hop aboard Omnitrans for a seamless journey to Toyota Arena. Simply download the Transit app to catch your bus and enjoy a stress-free trip on the Strykers. And speaking of Strykers, we had a couple of Strykers players that are going to get to rep the red, white, and blue at this upcoming World Mini Football World Cup, which I'll explain in just a second. But the players that we want to shout out, Andy Reyes, Justin Stinson, and Brian Orozco. They will be traveling to Baku, which, in case you don't know, the capital of Azerbaijan, between May 21st and June the 1st. Why? Because we have a appearance in the World Mini Football Tournament. And just to let you know, this is the 5th edition of this World Cup, a biennial competition. It's a small-sided 6v6 tournament, 50-minute formats. It was founded in 2015. There's a lot of teams that are going to be competing in it. In fact, Romania, which is the land of where my ancestors are from, along with Kefalonia, Greece, are the defending champions. The United States won the inaugural World Mini Football World Cup in 2015, beating the likes of Mexico by a score of 5-3. So check that out again, May 21st through, June the 1st. So that'll be fun. All players from the Major Arena Soccer League, Tim, and it'll be a good one. And so shout out to our guys, 3 players from
the Empire Strikers going. It's going to be great. And the U.S. is in a group with some people from my homeland in Poland, with the name like Golats. They must have gotten rid of the ski at the end of some point, right? But, I'm really fascinated to watch this tournament to see how it really goes on. And watching the guys play, Brian Orozco is going to play. I already know the guy's going to play great, but Justin Stinson, I really am excited. He has played on the futsal U.S. national team previously and done really, really well. I'm excited to see how he does with just a few days practice with the new staff and with all of his new teammates for this small-sided tournament out in Baku. I think it's going to be a fun watch.
I mean, look, a lot of the players that are competing in this tournament have played with one another. If you go down the roster list, I mean, you've got Augie Ray from the Milwaukee Wave, Chad Vandergrift, Steph Mijatovic, who used to play for the Strykers, Mario Alvarez, Cesar Correa, Leo Acosta, Alex Sanchez, Jesus Pacheco, former member of the Empire Strikers, Ian Bennett, Zach Raggett, Frank Tayu also played the Empire Strikers. These guys have played in tournaments together for quite some time. Stinson also played in the last mini World Cup. So this is going to be a great tournament. I'm not entirely sure as to but where it's going to be aired. But it's something to keep an eye on, especially as a precursor coming into the TST tournament, which all the players that I mentioned for the most part will more than likely be competing in. I could tell you off the top, 6 of them I know confirmed for a fact that will be in the TST, all spread out against different teams. And last time they had this, it was on YouTube. But if you look at the Mexican team, you look at the Brazilian team, the teams that have competed in this tournament in the past, MASL talent. But Romania, that's the team that's looking to defend their trophy as they beat the United Arab Emirates back in 2023. No, I apologize. That was the host. They beat Kazakhstan, Romania versus Kazakhstan in a World Cup final. And the only place you can see such a thing is the World Mini Football World Cup.
Yeah, and the games are going to be, the U.S. are going to be playing here. We've already got the schedule for them. They're going to be playing on May 22nd. And they're going to be playing against Bosnia and Herzegovina. They then play Poland. I'm going to be especially searching for that game on May 24th. And then the final group stage match is going to be against, you said it, reigning runner-up Kazakhstan on May 26th. So if we can figure out what time the games are going to be playing and where you can find it on next week's show, we will make sure that we let you know.
That's a really good question. In fact, let's see what time it is in Baku right now, folks. We're recording this live, so it's 4:39 Pacific Standard Time. If we go to Baku, it's 3:39 a.m., so that's a plus 11-hour difference. So now we've all just learned something. Some of us learning about the different time zones, others learning exactly about what Baku is and where it is. And again, to reiterate, Azerbaijan. See, we're all getting smarter together here on Soccer and 60. It'll be fun.
Exactly. Baku is just not a local rum that you can get. It is the capital of Azerbaijan. So,
yeah, it is.
So, Philly, I'm excited about this tournament. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a great lead in to the TST tournament. I think it's going to be getting a lot of these guys familiar with it and having a good time and getting it into that small-sided format and bringing it right into TST, which you, my friend, are going to be at.
Well, I mean, don't let the cat out of the bag yet. Can't make it official. But yes, there might be a certain somebody in North Carolina here in the next couple of weeks. So
perfect.
Stay
then
tuned.
I won't let the cat out of the bag. I won't let Hagrid out of the bag.
And funny fact, I haven't seen Hagrid since I've gotten home today. As you can tell, I just got back from work. But anyway, Hagrid's the name of my cat, and I'm clearly a Harry Potter fan because the other two are named Huff and Hagrid. All right, let's move on. National Core, one of the nation's largest not-for-profit affordable housing developers and proud sponsor of your MASL team, the Empire Strykers. At National Core, they believe that soccer has the power to transform lives just like they do. They believe in building strong communities on and off the field. To learn more about National Core and their mission, go to nationalcore.org. All right, so this brings us to our next segment. We will be talking about Angel City. A lot transpired here. And to address what happened with Savvy King, we're going to wait until after we quickly talk about the recap. We want to talk about the match real quick because it was Angel City's first shutout of the season. So let's get into things. Tim, do you want to start us off or do you want me to do it?
Yeah, let's all start it off for you, buddy. It was a great win against Utah. Nice clean sheet for the women of Los Angeles here in Angel City. A 2-0 winner. This was great. The fact that they put this together, they put together 3 straight really good performances. They are playing much better this season. Still without their head coach coming in, but Sam Lady has come in and really put the structure of this team together. And so, here in a couple months when they do have a full-time head coach, I think the team is going to be even better off once they do get a full-time coach, Philly.
Yeah, starting with a 4-3-3. They had Alyssa Thompson, Riley Tiernan, and Claire Emsley up top. Katie Zellum, Kennedy Fuller, and Alana Kennedy, who we're going to talk about momentarily. Emma Vignola, Savvy King, Sarah Gordon, who's just, I love watching Sarah Gordon play. Giselle Thompson and Angelina Anderson. Look, coming out of the gates, it was a hot game. In fact, the first 20 minutes of that game were far more exciting than the first 20 minutes of a lot of the other games that we have seen. Riley Tiernan, oh so close in the 19th. And, well, one good near miss deserves another. Utah came close with 10 to play in the half as Brecken Mozingo just missed to the left of an outstretched Angel City keeper, and that of Angelina Anderson. Angel City really controlled a lot of the passing game, a lot of the possession in the final third, really took care of business. Going into the second half, things really changed right around the 65th minute, Tim, when Claire Emsley, Scottish international, heads to the Pine Pony. In comes Kristen Press. And just like that, the switch got flipped. A goal from Angel City. They break the deadlock. A beautiful feed from Alana Kennedy, and Kristen Press absolutely breaks her defender's ankle. Fired a beauty past Mandy McGlynn, Utah's keeper. So first and foremost, I'm not flexible enough to do this. I can easily admit when I'm wrong. Press looked great out there, and this is me admitting that I was wrong and declaring that I put my foot in my mouth. An outstanding goal for Kristen Press, barely a minute into her shift.
Yeah, we've been pretty harsh on Kristen Press on this show, and there's been a lot of rightfully so stuff, and there's been some back and forth with Nina and Amanda, the Angel City chicks, coming on and us talking to her about it. But I admit it too. She has played really well since she's been coming on as a sub. She's gotten into game shape, and her goal was named Goal of the Week by the NWSL. So I'm wrong too, Philly. And every now and then we can change our mind, and that's okay.
Yeah, if you don't stand for something, you fall for a lot of things. I get that, but opinions can be swayed when you see proof to sway them. That's called intelligence, and that's that. At the end of the day, I've been a day one Angel City FC supporter and a season ticket holder. My wife does an Angel City podcast for fun, and she's credentialed. I want Angel City to succeed. This is my NWSL team, no question. So when we're being harsh, it's because we demand results. And look, they've been a great splash to the club at every level, but stockpiling wins, and that's where it's important. Alyssa Thompson with the nail in the coffin, slicing through Utah royally like a Ginsu knife at the cutting board. But what a great buildup. Another great opportunity for Kristen Press. Utah had an opportunity, but boom, first shutout of the season, and Angel City gets the dub. But now we should talk about the what happened, what ensued in the 74th minute.
Yeah, and this is hard to watch. If you are a fan of soccer, you're a fan of LAFC or Angel City, you're just a fan of humans being good humans. This is a tough one to watch. Savvy King collapses in the 74th minute, and there has been a lot of chatter back and forth, and we don't know exactly what happened with the teams after Savvy King goes down. But the fact of the matter is that the medical staff ran out there. If this had happened at a training ground where there wasn't the medical staff, things could have been different. But she was attended to immediately. She had to be revived. She was aware, knew what was happening. And the medical staff, after about 10 minutes, did in fact stretcher her off. And the question that has come up is, this is a far different thing from some of the other incidents that have happened. You know, the incident a couple years ago in the NFL, you had the Euro Championships a year or two ago, where the Danish player went down.
Christian Eriksen.
And the question really is, should that game have gone on? And the facts of the matter are this. Savvy King did have to have a medical procedure the very next day to fix a issue in her heart. And so the reality is, after you see something like that, is it something that the players look at, rally, and go and say, hey, we're going to go kick butt and win this for Savvy? Or is it more like, oh my God, one of my players just went down and I'm freaking out. How can I possibly continue to play soccer?
I think for the first part, real quick, so there's the question about abandoning the game. In 2024, the NWSL rule changed to require 75 minutes of play before a game can be officially declared abandoned. So, I mean, we're right around that mark. I wanted to make sure that we address that. But yes, from what the NWSL said, they said that league protocols were followed from both a medical and game operations perspective. And of course, they're grateful to the Angel City medical staff, as are we, but they never specified exactly what those protocols were or who made the final decision to carry on. Angel City did end up winning the game, but then you have players being very vocal about it. I know Trinity Rodman from the Washington Spirit and U.S. Women's National, she made a comment, and I quote, "Prayers for Savvy King as well as her loved ones and the players that were on the field, but in no world should the game have continued." And then a day or so after, the NWSLPA puts an announcement out as well that says, any medical emergency that requires the administration of life-saving care should bring play to an end. The match should not have continued. So the players in the Players Association, along with some of the stars of the league, all are in agreement that this game should not have been played.
Yeah, and if you're going to follow protocols like that, there needs to be much clearer communication across the entire league. And everybody from the league commissioner all the way down to the medical staff should know that in the back of their mind, if something like this occurs, that they need to follow protocol. And clearly, in my opinion, protocol did not seem to be followed on this one, Philly.
Yeah, but we don't know what the protocol is, so we can't say we know. Either way, our hearts go out to her. It happened in the best possible scenario around a group of experts that were able to tend to her. She had the heart surgery, so we wish her all the best. And 20 years old, man, just so crazy that something like that, could happen. Let's talk about Angel City's upcoming game. Tim, why don't you tackle this one real quick?
Yeah, so upcoming this weekend, they're going to play Bay FC, and this is one of the rivalries that is, I wouldn't say it's been forced on them, but this is one of these rivalries that they've really come into play. Bay FC has only been around for a year. This is only their second season, and Angel City has only played them a couple of times, and they're 0-2 against Bay FC, and they lost last June on the 22nd. They lost a 1-0 game to them. So the difference is, though, Angel City is playing far better this year. They're coming into this game. They're in 5th place. They're 4-2-2. And Bay FC, while a little bit better than they were last year, they were 2-6 at the time this time last year. They're currently 2-4-2. So they've got a few more points. I think the big thing that is going to come with this, though, is the progression of the team has been far better. And I think this is going to be a really good matchup. And I believe that Angel City is going to be much more prepared for Bay FC this year than they have been the last season.
Well, check that game out. It'll be Saturday, May the 17th versus Bay FC at 7 p.m. That concludes our Angel City segment. Again, nothing but love and shout out to Savvy King. All right, Orange County Soccer Club, Tim, North Carolina FC, North Carolina. They gone and raised up. They beat Orange County. Let's talk about this one.
They did. The Orange County boys headed to the land of the Pine Barrens tree frog. And if you want to know what a Pine Barrens tree frog is, well, you got to look it up. That's what Wikipedia is for.
So but they did like a minor league baseball team.
They did go out to the Carolinas, and they did go to North Carolina. And there was, North Carolina played a very pedestrian first half. But even with 11 shots on goal, the County boys could not put one past them. And as it is with football, everything is the way it's going to be is the way it's going to be. And the football gods looked on North Carolina in the 45th minute of that first half, and within a series of 4 one-touch passes, the ball is in the back of the net on a sliding finish by Rodrigo da Costa. And this is a really good sequence. And I really like good football, even though it is against the County boys, and I'm an Orange County homer. This is just great football. There's a couple of nice passes right at the midfield. There's a great pass, a nice hard pass to the wing, who one touches it all the way down to the top of the 18, and North Carolina doesn't control the ball. He just puts it right across, and DaCosta puts it in the back of the net, and Shuttler doesn't really have a chance on this. And the defending was actually really, really good on this. Everybody was back. It just was a great cross, and it's in the back of the net. And what we're really doing here is Orange County has gotten a lot of shots, and in the game, although they're not shots on goal, you can't count them. They weren't a save. There were no less than 6 shots on goal that were just outside the crossbar, just outside the post. There's a couple from about 15, 18 yards out that were ticketed for the top 90, and the spin of the earth must have done something because they didn't go in. But it was a very while they still lost, and I know there's no solace in losing. The Orange County did play a really nice game, and North Carolina just happened to get out on the right side of this one, Philly.
Now, that loss, what are we thinking about? I mean, that currently drops Orange County Soccer Club into 7th place, and it's not going to get any easier for them because they're going to take on New Mexico United. New Mexico United 3-2 in their last 5, whereas the Orange County boys, they're kind of like a Katy Perry song. They're hot and they're cold. They're hot.
They're yes and they're
they're yes and they're no. They're in and they're out. I went yes, repeating things because it was loss win. You get the point. I mean, what are we thinking here? I mean, top 8 teams will make postseason, but what's going on?
I think the biggest thing is that they need to be much more consistent. And when we had Nico Ben Alcazar on a few weeks ago, his biggest thing is that it's work rate. BWP said that it's work rate. And I think what's going to happen is they're going to come home. They're playing at home this weekend against New Mexico, and the home cooking is going to help them. But I really think what it is just getting them. They do have some injuries. Zubac hasn't played in a couple of games, and Tristan Traeger is getting back to game shape. He is getting minutes. I think if they can get Liam McKinnon back on track, he did have a brace a couple of weeks ago, but if they can get him back into playing the type of football that Danny Stone wants these guys to play, I think there will be a result with New Mexico. And if they can do that, then they're going to be focused, and they're going to be they're not going to be at the top of the table in the Western Conference, but I do believe they'll end up the end of the season top 4.
And that game is going to be on Saturday at 7 p.m. Orange County hosts New Mexico United. Best 11 time, folks. Let's dial up that register. For those that are new, this is our version, which we take creative liberties for and with. I'll explain that in a second. This, in our opinion, is the best performances of the players from the teams that we cover. In this case, from May the 8th to May the 14th. And some football fans out there, actually plenty of football fans out there, don't have a sense of humor. They like things to be a little literal. So when we're going through this, I mentioned creative liberties. Why? Because some of the players that we mentioned on here, we know are not midfielders, but there were so many masterful performances that we had to address it. All right, in between the sticks, first shutout of the season for Angel City against Utah, Angelina Anderson. She made herself a couple of fantastic saves, denying Utah Royals Mozingo in particular on a couple occasions. She was outstanding. Defenders, M.A. Vignola, Giselle Thompson, and Sergi Palencia. Vignola and Thompson for their performances against the Royals. Sergi Palencia for his performance last night against the Seattle Sounders. Midfielders, Igor Jesus, Cengiz Under, Denny Bawanga, and Alana Kennedy. Again, we know some of them are not midfielders, folks. They're forwards. Duh! We get it, but Igor Jesus, his first MLS assist. Incredible that Jeremy Abobasi. Cengiz Under taking care of business, scoring a goal. Denny Bawanga, his 6th goal in 6 games. For his performance, not only against Seattle, but for Vancouver. And Alana Kennedy for getting that beautiful dime over to Kristen Press for Kristen Press's beautiful NWSL goal of the week. Outstanding. And then your forwards, Alyssa Thompson, for her performance against the Royals. Jeremy Abobasi scoring a goal off a beautiful breakaway pass from Igor Jesus. And then Marco Royce collects 2 dimes, assists, for those who don't know what I mean by that, in the game against the Philadelphia Union. Could this be Marco Royce's coming out party? Could he finally feel healthy enough to actually improve upon that Galaxy midfield? He certainly looked so against the Philadelphia Union. Tim, based on what you see on this list, any thoughts? concerns, or complaints?
You know what? Normally we bark and scream at each other about this one, but no. I think we've gotten it right this week. I think Marco Royce, it could have been his coming out party because his legs did look great. And I do have to tell you that Jeremy Abobasi goal was a thing of beauty. Hustling down on a clean breakaway and then cutting back in on the goalie and making him look foolish as he goes bottom left corner. That was fantastic. What can you say? Can we finally say that Denis Bouanga is en fuego? Finally, after 6 and 6, I think en fuego is a pretty good term for him.
That means on fire. I know, absolutely. Denis Bouanga taking care of business. My only complaint, and again, because I stuck my foot in my mouth, I want to make sure I completely remove it because I don't have that flexibility. Kristen Press had a goal of the week candidate for the NWSL, a beautiful goal against the Utah Royals, which opened this up. She was listed as a super sub. So if there's any complaint that I personally have against this list, it's the fact that she is not on there. But who do you remove? Alyssa Thompson completely sliced through the defense. I will tell you this. You got to have a Galaxy player on there. Marco Royce is there, but I would find something to do. I don't know. Maybe we call it best 12 in a case of these kind of circumstances and bring Kristen Press on there. You can't get an NWSL goal of the week and not be on LA's best 11. My only complaint.
Yeah, I think you make a valid point there, Philly. And with the goal of the week, yeah, I think she should have been on there. Could we have taken somebody else off? I'm not sure, but we got to put Marco Royce in there.
Folks, that's all the time that we have for tonight's show. Again, make sure you follow us on @Soccer60 on Instagram. Subscribe. The Empire Strykers with a Y YouTube. We're on 1490 AM KMET 98.1 in much of the Inland Empire. Strykers, Instagram, and YouTube. And on demand on all your major podcasting platforms. Just type in Soccer and 60. On behalf of myself, Philly, on behalf of Timmy K, on behalf of Gunnar Burnt, producer Christian, and everybody there, thank you so much. Have a good night. Enjoy your weekends.